Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, my name is Romanos. I am a historian and we are continuing our journey in this beautiful story about Byzantium. If you like this story, feel free to hit the like button, comment and subscribe to this new channel to be notified when a new video is uploaded. You can also leave your own suggestions about how the story should continue in the comments section. Suggestions regarding not only the presentation of the story, but also how the character should move and what decisions should make. In the previous episode, we saw a period of peace for Byzantium. It was a period of economic growth, centralization of power and military progress, both in numbers as well as in quality for the Byzantines. The two brothers that set the foundations for the resurrection of the Roman Empire right at the moment when everybody in Europe expected the inevitable end, Ioannis and Konstantinos Palaiologos were now dead. But after the tragedies, Byzantium always managed to prevail and rise to glory again. The Byzantine throne was inherited by Constantinos' wife, Queen Regent and Empress Theodora. And although nobody expected a woman ruler to be so dynamic and focused, it was Theodora that declared the Second Offensive War against the Ottomans. Theodora was one of the most important rulers in this new era. In those early years of birth of this new Roman Empire, there was not any discussion, political, ideological or intellectual movement in the Byzantine Empire that connected their realm with the glorious Roman Empire of the past. It was too early for that. The desire to form the Roman Empire in its ancient borders and glory, historically, is a much later idea, desire, goal and focus of the Byzantine emperors. Nevertheless, Theodora had a much bigger dream than just surviving the Ottomans. She was the only child of a very wealthy family of Kosovo. The Vatagis family were relatives of the great emperor Ioannis Vatagis, the one that prepared the Byzantines to reconquest Constantinople after the dark years of the Fourth Crusade during the 13th century. Theodora's father, not having a male heir, gave her the education and training that would give to a son. Theodora had a formal education in Latin, philosophy, astronomy, theology, medicine, and also had extensive military training. She could speak Spanish, Italian, English, French, Turkish and Greek. Also, Theodora had long conversations with Konstantinos about his military tactics, his administrative goals and his dreams for the Byzantine Empire. So, it is not a surprise that she was a tactical genius and later became a charismatic negotiator. Theodora had only one dream: to unite all the Greeks as well as all of the Orthodox people in the Balkans under the rule of the Romans. Then her successors would be able to launch a relentless holy war against the Ottomans and then against all of the other Muslim empires in the East to spread the true faith. Religion was the only ideology in that age. So it was only natural that Theodora declared war on the Ottomans for the conquest of the Balkans. The first goal in this war was to occupy all of the Balkan provinces. The Ottomans were at war with Kandar, and Plovdiv, that was the war goal, as well as other Balkan provinces, were occupied by Crimea, an ally of Kandar. The mercenary army was ordered to occupy the Ottoman provinces in the Albanian region, and the rest of the army the Bulgarian province. Meanwhile, there was widespread discontent in the Byzantine people about some government policies. Theodora made an attempt to improve the situation. In March, the armies in Bulgaria were ordered to rally in Constantinople. In the 1st of May, improvements in the efficiency of some government employees led to widespread experimentation of these new methods. This allowed Theodora to reduce inflation by 2. That same day, the mercenary army of 8,000 men in Ohrid under General Nestornos was ordered to march towards Kokacheli. In June of 1464, the Allies unleashed their full power. No less than 5 different armies of Austria, Hungary and Byzantium invaded Anatolia and started occupying provinces and besieging forts. All the Ottoman forts were under siege by Allied armies except the fort of Sugla that was under siege by Theodoro in another war. The mercenary army of Nestornos that was created to handle sieges had no real target. In the 23rd of August, Karasi, Sharuhan, Aydin, Denizli, Kütahya, Mentese and Teke were in Byzantine hands. Austrian and Hungarian armies were besieging Kokacheli, Ankara and the Ottoman capital in Hudavendika. When Nestornos arrived in Ankara, the Kandar War ended, and he was ordered to go back and besiege Sugla. The Balkan provinces that were occupied in that war were now free. So the Byzantines sent 5 small armies to the Balkans to occupy those provinces and most importantly Plovdiv, the war god. The Allies had such an overwhelming advantage that the Ottomans had not yet showed their face. They were hiding. In January of 1465, the Balkan provinces were occupied and the Byzantines were returning to Anatolia. In the peace deal, Theodora would ask the Ottomans to cede all of their Balkan provinces to Byzantium. This would frighten some nearby countries and they might consider joining a coalition against Byzantium. So Theodora had to send diplomats to those countries to improve relations with them. First, she sent a diplomat to Karaman. Then Byzantium fabricated a claim on Crete, and Theodora sent diplomats in Crimea and Kandar. Herzegovina would not be a problem. They had no allies. When the truce ended, war was coming for them. In April, all the Ottoman forts were under siege. But then something happened that the Allied generals did not expect. The Ottoman armies returning from Crimea had access to the Balkan provinces directly. In the 25th of May, Hudavendigar fell. Then, in the 29th of June, Kokacheli fell. And in the 31st of July of 1465, Sugla fell. The main fleet of the Ottomans that was docked there was crushed by the Byzantine navy. They lost 8 ships. In September, the Austrian and Hungarian armies were returning in the Balkans to face the Ottoman armies and so did the Byzantines. In the 20th of October, General Nestornos died. A new general, Theogenis Romanos, was appointed. In November, the Ottoman armies were moving towards Austria and Hungary, completely ignoring the fact that 75% of their country was occupied. So the Byzantines sent General Romanos to lead the mercenaries to help in the siege of Ankara and kept the rest of the army in a supportive role. In the 28th of January, a report came to Theodora from her tax collector. 1466 would be an exceptional year. The national tax modifier would increase by 50%. The Allies had returned to their countries to face the Ottomans, but anyway their job was done. In the 20th of April of 1466, in a jousting tournament, a great champion of Byzantium was the winner. This would increase the morale of the armies by 10%, the yearly army tradition by 1, and the yearly prestige by 0.50, for a duration of 20 years. Now the Byzantine army had a morale of 3.95 and the Ottomans only 3.51, while both armies had the same discipline. Meanwhile, the Austrians lost one battle after the other against the Ottomans. And now the Balkan provinces started falling back to the Ottomans. In the 9th of October of 1466, Ankara fell. Theogenis Romanos started moving toward Diyarbakir to force AQ out of this war. The rest of the army was ordered to occupy the rest Ottoman province. In November, only Albania, Herzegovina and the Ottomans would join a coalition. But a coalition of only 3 countries could not be formed. The Byzantines could take all of the Balkan provinces without any diplomatic penalty. Nevertheless, Theodora started improving relations with Albania. But then Theodora had second thoughts. She wanted to crush the Ottoman armies in battle like her husband Constantinos and his brother did in the first war with the Ottomans. For the first time, Byzantium possessed an army of better quality than the Ottomans. It couldn't be so hard. So she ordered the Byzantine armies to return in the Balkans. The advance of the Byzantines in the Balkans made the Ottomans retreat towards Bosnia. And then, when the Byzantines approached Bosnia, they further retreated to Hungary. It was clear that they had no intention of fighting against this powerful Byzantine army. In the 28th of April of 1467, the Byzantines crushed the small army of Hisn Haifa in the province of Bosnia. Then the Ottomans attacked a depleted Austrian army in Donji Kranji. The Byzantines were also depleted, but Theodora insisted that they should reinforce the Austrian army in Donji Kranji against a fully prepared Ottoman army of 27,000 men. The Allied army had slightly higher numbers but much lower morale, so they lost that battle. The Byzantine army retreated to Constantinople. After this debacle, Romanos decided first to retake Plovdiv, the war goal, and then to continue with the occupation of the remaining Anatolian provinces and the siege of Diyarbakir. The day that the Byzantine army arrived in Diyarbakir, AEQ decided to sign a wide peace with the Byzantines. But Wien had fallen to the Ottomans. In the 30th of April, Theodora used her diplomatic power to settle a dispute between two noble families in Arta. In the 1st of May of 1468, Byzantine scholars discovered basic financial instruments, and this increased the trade efficiency of Byzantium by 2%, among other benefits. In the 19th of June of 1468, the Ottomans were ready to cede all of their Balkan provinces to the Byzantines. All that Byzantium needed was the occupation of the Anatolian province. This back and forth in the Balkans to meet the Ottomans in battle was a mistake and added at least another year in the war. Only the Ottomans and Herzegovina would join a coalition, and Byzantium had a truce with both of them. The Ottomans also paid 211 ducats in war reparation. With the conquest of Bulgaria, the Romans also gained claims in Apulia, Calabria and Campania in southern Italy. Also, Byzantium now had a budget surplus of 5.52 ducats, even after paying 3.52 ducats fighting corruption in the newly conquered provinces. The Byzantines had expelled the Ottomans from the Balkans, and their temporary presence there would become nothing more than a footnote in history. The Romans were unstoppable. Who would be their next target? We will talk about that in the next episode.